Welcome back everyone to the 14.9 edition of the most OP builds, where we provide you guys with 10 setups that are extremely powerful for the current meta, but have yet to fully catch on in solo queue. And remember, if you're struggling to climb in League, SkillCapped is the only place that guarantees you'll climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. Otherwise, you can claim a full refund. We do this because our service really works, and this is the best time of the season to get in on SkillCapped, as we've just released tons of site-exclusive courses designed for you to power learn the most important concepts for climbing in League of Legends stupidly fast, compared to those who don't use SkillCapped. Join today for unlimited access to the world's most famously effective League of Legends guides, and remember, one subscription gives you access to all of our other games as well. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to stop wasting time being hard stuck and get the rank you actually want. And with that said, let's get into it. Top lane Varus had its moments in Season 13, but hasn't been in meta for a while now. Well, that is until very recently, where this new hybrid build is giving him a ton of strength. Terminus as the rush item is core, as it's been a really undervalued item in general ever since it was buffed a few patches back. From then on out, it's definitely not something you'd really expect, as Zanya's and Banshee's Veil are interchangeable second and third pickups. Since Varus has pretty good AP ratios on his abilities, you have the luxury of going for these more defensive AP items while still being able to deal good damage. Your side lane threat is incredibly strong with this build, as the enemy has to first pop your Banshee's shield and then get through the CC from your R. All the defensive stats also make it much more difficult for enemies to take you down if they do get on you, which allows you more time to kite back and reposition. It's just a super annoying build to play against and makes Varus a very frustrating champ for enemies to deal with. The rune page to go along with this build is Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Bone Plating and Overgrowth are for secondaries. There's a Quinn build that has been flying heavily under the radar for a while now, and it revolves around lethality items. Storm Razor is the most common rush item on Quinn right now, but what's working even better is a more burst-heavy rush option in Profane Hydra. Quinn is a champion who thrives in solo queue due to her ability to find catch plays with her ultimate. Profane Hydra offers up so much burst threat that it works so well in tandem with how Quinn wants to play. Second item in the build is Edge of Night, so that when you dive into fights, you're guaranteed to block some damage and easily win out in the 1v1. Build is all about finding catch plays with R and taking out squishy targets when they're out of position. Electrocute works really well as the keystone rune with this build, followed by Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Grab Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. As with any champion rework or new release, it often takes a while for players to find the most optimal builds, and that's definitely been the case with Skarner. Right now, there are so many interesting rune setups that Skarner players have been running, and there's one in specific that is seeing incredible results. You probably wouldn't expect it, but Grasp on Skarner jungle is the keystone rune that has been winning the most. With Skarner being one of the few junglers that rushes Heartsteel, Grasp in combination works really well. The Grasp proc deals 3.5% of your max health and bonus magic damage, so when you rush Heartsteel, you actually get a ton more damage coming out of Grasp. The heal from Grasp also scales off your max health, and you permanently gain 7 health whenever you get a proc, so you just have a really nice early to mid game spike when running Grasp with Heartsteel. For the full rune page, it's Grasp, Shield Bash, Conditioning, and Overgrowth, followed by Free Boots and Approach Velocity for secondaries. It's always Heartsteel for the rush item, while the second purchase will be Sunfire or Hollow Radiance, and from then on out, it's very situational. There's a new hybrid Shaco build that has been popping up a lot more as of recent and seeing a ton of success in solo queue. Spear of Shojin is the rush item. You go into Leandry second and then Riftmaker third. You're playing Shaco quite a bit differently with this build as opposed to if you were running lethality. W max first is what you'll be prioritizing, and you're playing the champ as much more of a disruptor instead of a champ who can one-shot squishies. All 3 of the items in this build have passives with ramping effects. The longer you stay in combat, the stronger you become with this build. This makes throwing down boxes and heavily playing around objectives extremely important. In a way, this build really incentivizes good macro play, as you need to be getting the most out of this W max to see the best results. The rune page with this build will be Dark Harvest, followed by Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Ultimate Hunter. Transcendence and Gathering Storm are for secondaries. There's a setup that's become much stronger on LeBlanc as of recent due to her 14.8 buffs. Q max while taking Summon Airy as the keystone rune is a really great strategy right now to exert a ton of pressure in lane. Since Riot buffed LeBlanc's W so that the cooldown is now 15 seconds at rank 1 instead of 18 seconds, maxing the spell out first is not as necessary. You can go for the Q max and really take advantage of the consistent poke that it has to offer, especially if you are in melee matchups. Constantly throwing out Qs while proccing Airy and Scorch adds up really quickly and will have you dominating lane. Our challenger mid laner Shori really likes this setup right now and shows you exactly how to abuse it in his new commentary that just went up on our website. The full rune page that he's been running consists of Airy with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Taste of Blood and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. Now, it's not just the rune setup that is unique here, as Shori has been building Ludens in tandem with Lichbane for his core. Ludens and Lichbane allows for LeBlanc to burst really hard with one rotation of spells, which is is exactly what you want out of an assassin for solo queue. Over the past few patches, Opportunity as a rush item has been picking up traction on a lot of champions, and it's really underrated on Uxin right now. What makes Opportunity so great as an early game purchase is the fact that you get so much lethality. The passive on Opportunity grants you bonus lethality when you are out of combat for 8 seconds. You get 5 bonus lethality in the early game, which when combined with the flat 18 lethality from the item, totals up to 23 lethality, which is the most for any item. Lethality as a stat reduces enemies' armor, so if you've got 23 lethality, when you hit a target, you'll be reducing their armor by 23. Now, if a champion has 200 armor from items, lethality is a pretty weak stat, since 23 armor reduced off of 200 is a very low percent. Vice versa, let's say the enemy only has 40 armor in the early game, lethality is highly valuable because you're basically cutting their armor in half. So since Opportunity has the most lethality for any item, it makes a lot of sense to grab it early on in the game where you get a ton of value from it due to players not having purchased any armor yet. For the rune page with this build, grab Press the Attack, Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace for primaries. Best secondaries are Bone Plating and Overgrowth. It's not just Uxin who's been finding a lot of success with the Opportunity Rush, as Callista is an ADC who's been loving it. Opportunity Rush makes so much sense for Callista because she's a champion who needs to accelerate through the early game and stay ahead of the enemy ADC to win games. Callista with 3 items doesn't stack up very well against most other ADCs, so you really want to spike hard early game and roll with an advantage. Since Opportunity gives you 23 lethality early on, it packs a massive punch when you rush it and allows you to burst out those squishy enchanters or enemy ADCs very easily. Now, you might be thinking, well, Opportunity doesn't have any attack speed at all, so how can it be viable for Callista? This is where your rune setup is key. Instead of taking lethal tempo, you're running Hail of Blades. The 3 quick autos from Hail of Blades in combination with Opportunity allows for Callista to hit super hard. The upfront damage is amazing, and it lets Callista follow up on engages extremely well. Infinity Edge on Aphelios is nothing new, but the order in which you purchase it has started to shift a bit over the past patch. We're starting to see a lot more players rushing the Infinity Edge on Aphelios instead of picking it up second. The stats behind this are really good too, as those who have been rushing IE on Aphelios are winning much more than those going for Kraken or Stormrazor. The second item in the build path is quite unique as well. You're completely avoiding Stormrazor and Kraken altogether and are opting for Phantom Dancer. The IE rush gives you a load of raw damage, so going for Phantom Dancer second works amazing as it brings in the attack speed that allows you to hit hard in an extended fight. Third item, Bloodthirster, is a great choice to round out the core, or if the enemy comp is building a bunch of armor, you can go for Lord Dom. The rune page revolves around fleet footwork with Overheal, Bloodline, and Cutdown, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. Next up, we've got a pretty niche champion and build to cover that works really well right now. Fiddlestick Support is the champ, and the build consists of running Celestial Opposition as your support item upgrade. Celestial Fiddle is finding really good success in solo queue right now, but it's still very underrated. Most Fiddle support players are going Realm Spike for their item upgrade, but Celestial is winning 4% more. So why is this? Celestial Opposition just has such great synergy with how Fiddle wants to play, as it provides damage reduction for the first 2 seconds after you take damage. When Fiddle dives into a fight with his ultimate, Celestial gives him so much added tankiness that he can stick in fights for longer and get better value out of his R. Every time you use R with Fiddle, Celestial is going to be helping you out, which makes it such a great item. The other 2 core items to follow are Malignance and Zanya's. For the rune page, you'll take Comet with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. Ever since his buffs from a few patches back, Galio has been a pretty solid support, and there's a build that's giving him a ton of strength. Trailblazer is the rush item, and it works amazing on Galio. You can think of Galio support a bit like Maokai support in the sense that as long as you can get in range to land W, you're going to be impactful. Trailblazer fits in really nicely in this sense because it offers a lot of movement speed, and if you also take Swiftness boots, the catch power of Galio support is incredibly strong. Much like Maokai, Galio's W is a point-and-click spell, so the only thing that holds you back from landing it is not being in range. Running right up to the enemy and landing a fully channeled W followed up with E is such a foolproof combo and can lead to so many kills for your team throughout the game. To amplify the all-in threat of Galio, you want to be taking Solstice Slay for the support item upgrade. Shurelia's as a third pickup ties the build together super well, as it gives even more movement speed to enable Galio's engage. It's going to be Aftershock for the Keystone rune with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Unflinching. Grab Nimbus Cloak and Transcendence for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top-tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's going to wrap everything up for the 14.9 edition of the OP builds. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon.